space. The final challenge for our King's Indian. These are the voyages of the... I don't know Star Trek. What am I doing? Evening, everybody. This is DrHack. And we are over halfway done with our King's Indian defense. Sweet. And had somebody write in on the video and ask about a specific thing. What happens when they put all 4 pawns in the middle here? Well, I want you to fix your peepers over here for a minute. And this is an amateur database. This is 1200 to 2000 on leechess.org. So the amateur of amateurists, and this is Blitz and Rapid. That's what we're looking at here. And when you put all those guys into the database, 16% of them, almost 1 in 5, put a pawn at f4 on this move. Huh, right? How many times do the masters do that? Not as much, right? Not as much. And when they do it, the black side is winning a little bit more of the time. Huh, right? Well, guess what, guys? There is a fundamental flaw with this move, and it's not that hard to understand and take advantage of. Yes, right? So let's learn this, and then let's go into our other stuff. Okay, I'm going to drop the biggest knowledge bomb on you right now that you've ever been dropped upon. Pawns do not go backwards, right? And so when he puts 4 pawns into the middle, the stuff behind those pawns becomes very, very empty, weak, right? And if our goal becomes getting rid of some of these pawns, now I think if we get rid of any 2 of these pawns, we're probably ahead, okay? If you can get rid of just 1, that's almost enough, but not quite. You need to get rid of 2 of them. When we do that, our pieces naturally will just come right through the middle then without any troubles. There'll be enough squares to use. And so now it's our job to attack the center with our pawns and bust it up. You got to bust them up. It's going to be a street fight. Okay, so let's play another move into it. And if our opponent gets feisty here, we see that it's happening often enough, right? This is now really bad for white because we can get rid of 2 of those pawns by force now. And you see that 75% of the amateurs know the first move. How many percent of the masters know the first move? Sorry, John. So the masters don't have the principles in mind. The amateurs do. Yoicks. Chalk 1 up for the amateurs. Cha-ching. Nice. Okay, so we take the pawn, and he should probably take back with this one, because if he takes back with the other one, we're going to trade queens, and there won't be any more queens on the board for the attack. So it's got to be this one, right? Now dream up with me. Dream it hard. How are you going to get rid of 1 more pawn? I think you're exactly right. I think you're going to play c5 at some moment in the future, and that's going to pull away the defender of this pawn, and then you're going to go and take this pawn. So if we play a move like knight to d7, again, the amateurs got it right. They're nailing this stuff. And then white plays any move they want. Let's play the most popular one. When we play c5, watch what happens to the percentages over here. Look at how much black started winning all of a sudden in all the variations. They're over 50% now in everything. So that's the right idea. We just found it, okay? We got to get rid of at least 2 of these pawns, and then we've equalized the game at that point, and we can go play. Easy to understand. Now what, right? Now we get to play the good moves for white, and we got to figure out, okay, if he doesn't overcommit and give us the ability to just blast him off the board, what now, huh? And if we take it back to, the last one that we looked at, and we think about how we get through the middle, thinking about this bishop, this move c5 really does come to mind. Now, in this case, you don't really have the option of playing e5 because look at all the bajillion things that are pointed there. So we weren't really thinking about that one anyways. It would take you 1, maybe 2 moves to play that. I would say that's a little bit too long. Okay, but we can play c5 right now. And indeed, the masters do 69% of the time. And the amateurs don't 69% of the time because they don't know. Okay, chalk 1 up for the masters. Shink, right? You got to get through the middle. Now let's make it hard on ourselves because they're not going to take this, right? These guys didn't know what they were doing. They're going to keep the pawns all on the board because white knows that you have to get rid of 2 of those to make your game work. How are we going to get rid of 2 of those pawns? And I suspect that you guys are going to get to see a little bit into my process as we go into this one. Because I noticed something as I was studying it, and that is that the computer's number one choice is not, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's first choice. It's not the people's choice. The masters too, right? It's not their number one choice, and it's not the amateur's number one choice. And my suspicion there is that when you do this computer move, it makes the planning for black, very easy. The mental capital, it just goes to zero. You don't have to think so hard. Because remember, we're trying to get rid of one more pawn out of the middle. Well, that seems very, very easy to do now after we play this move, f takes e, because we're just thinking about how do we play d5. And all we need to do now with black is figure out how to aim more pieces at that square. And so we think, well, the knight could, here, and the bishop could go here, and the queen could lift up with a rook behind it. That's like a bajillion pieces aimed there. And then when we push d5 and the game opens, we're equal. We're doing great. So we go back to it and we realize that our opponents are probably going to make us do all the work, trading off the two pawns. Right? Well, it's actually, again, that same visualization drill that we just did will make our life easier, right? How do we aim more pieces here? Well, the rook, could go over, and the queen, I guess, could go up. And the only other piece I can think of that can get there is this knight. And he's going to have to do one of those random things that, parents know about, but the rest of you don't. And that is you're going to have to walk through the dark and try not to step on a Lego. No, he's actually going to try to step on this pawn. And so, as the knight moves, the pawn's going to have to get out of the way. He's going to have to kick it out of the way so he doesn't injure his foot. And then he's going to have to land on this square so that he can put another piece of pressure here. And once we have that idea, then the game starts to be a lot simpler to play. For example, we can push this over, and because there's a pin to the king, we suppose the white king should get out of the way. The amateurs agree 96% of the time. Let's go. But now watch what happens when you play this move. Watch the numbers. Whoa, right? They're all over 50% all of a sudden. Some of them are huge. Because if the white bishop should take it, that gives us that trade that we wanted. The second pawn is gone. The game is equal, and we can start our attack. And if white should move back, that doesn't slow us down. Our knight can now jump in, sit here, and we can make our last piece attack this. Good stuff, huh? So that's one of the oddities of this particular opening, is that the bishop going to d3 to defend the pawn doesn't really confuse us that much. The one that confuses us the most is when they don't defend that pawn, and we think to ourselves, and we lick our lips, and we go, hey, this is going to be pretty easy now. There's only one piece defending it and one piece attacking it. That's a weakness. I think the reason why white is winning a lot here in amateur chess is because we tend to, ignore the pieces that are not developed when things start to happen in the game. We just we forget about them. So if we were to play a move like this and things were to start to happen, which we're forcing him to move this forward, right? We could get into trouble because once we move the knight, white can develop very, very, very rapidly. And if you think about what a gambit is, right, giving up something to get something, and you think specifically about a gambit for time, if you can get 3 extra turns for the loss of the pawn, your attack is going to be 3 turns further ahead, and that's totally worth it. Now, I put the theory as to why that is how it is into one of the Roy Lopez videos. I'll link to that in the description of this video if you want to see the actual theory as to why that is. I'm not going to redo it here. But this is why I think black gets way behind in this one, because white gets the first attack because he is better developed, and we ignore our stuff here. So, how could we do that better then? And I think the way we do it better is we make sure that this move is bad before we go and attack this pawn. So what if we played now knight to d7? Now this move doesn't work anymore. And if they were to try it, watch what happens to the game. When the knight moves again, now there are 3 pieces attacking this pawn. And so it has to be, dealt with. It has to be moved. You can't just bring another piece to defend it. You'll take it. And so they move it. And now look at what happens when we just kind of take up the space behind the pawns. Pawns don't go backwards. We take up the space behind the pawns, and all the weak stuff that's back here now And if this knight were to take, we even have, one less piece back there. And this is a weakness, and these two are going to trade. White's almost out of stuff in the middle. And look at how much black is winning. Right? So we seem to have done something right. We got developed, and now there's a bunch of ways to go after him. Full circle. I do hope this helps somebody. And we will be back on Monday to finish this thing up. You guys have a great weekend. Take care now.